What's going on, guys? Just hit that live button. Figured I'd hang out with you guys for a little bit, talk some draft, talk about these rounds coming up tonight. You guys ready for the second and third round of the draft? Talk about yesterday and everything else. I do want to start off with one thing. I don't want to just sit here and wait for people to join. People will come in. But we need to start off with some Xavier Legette here. He's answered some questions in an interview. I got it on my phone right here. There it is. I'm going to hold it up to the mic over here. I want you to listen to the accent. I know you've heard it before, but I don't really care because, I don't know. It is a breath of fresh air. Listen to Xavier Legette right there.
Xavier, you woke up at Carolina Panthers.
Listen to him.
Say it one more time.
Say it one more time. Look at that.
Did you have to pitch yourself a little bit?
Oh no, man. I woke
Oh,
up
man.
I got a call right after I got Jelly. They was coming to pick me up at 9:30 in the morning. I told them I'm gonna be ready.
How do you not root for Xavier Legette?
What was that feeling like when you got the call?
Oh, hell nah.
Because I saw the emotion in your face.
Man,
what were those
listen to that.
emotions?
Overly excited my whole time, and I really trying to hold my tears in for real. And I told my folks I wasn't gonna crack out, try to be tough guy. But man,
Xavier Legette. How do you not root for that? How do you not root for that accent? How do you not do that? Like, I get it. But still, a guy like that, I mean, how do you not root for Xavier Legette? Like, every time he plays, I want to hear an interview. Every game that happens, whether he's on the field or not, I want to hear an interview from Xavier Legette. And that's all I want from this season. I don't want anybody to win the Super Bowl. I don't want my rookies to do it. I want to hear interviews from him. That's it. But going over last night, being a little bit more serious, but that's never going to happen. Xavier Worthy just melted everybody's face when that pick happened. That just happened, melted everybody's face. That's destroying rankings right now. Xavier Worthy going to the Kansas City Chiefs, like I've been saying, that Kansas City Chief privilege, being able to go to the Chiefs, the market's just going to go off with that. And then Xavier Worthy, you're looking at this prospect profile here. A breakout age of age 18, not just a breakout age of age 18 where he just barely hits 25% or 20%, depending on where your markers are at. 36.27% market share of Texas as passing production at age 18 as a freshman. And then 24.22 at 19, 25.06 at age 20. Like, that's studly. And then you get the perfect landing spot. 2.83 yards per team passes him at age 18, 2.13 last year. Not bad. So you got Patrick Mahomes funneling him the rock. And a lot of people are going to be pushing him versus Odunze. That is going to be the narrative all summer long. Him versus Odunze. Odunze, though, the more talented prospect. Look at the back end of his career, though. Last year, 31.81% market share. That's at age 21. An older prospect, but still, we got the size and play on the perimeter. The thing about Rome Odunze is we got a log jam there on the depth chart. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen company. You're looking at that, and then you see maybe there's a ramp-up period. We're also working with a rookie quarterback, and we got a rookie wide receiver and all that stuff. Maybe there's a ramp-up period. Maybe that would cause him to start things off slow. That would cause him to allow you to get a buying opportunity. Maybe you want him, and maybe you're at the 110. Maybe you can catch him later. That's one thing to look at. But another thing, I just keep thinking about the Texans last year. You're thinking, Tank Dell, C.J. Stroud, the team looked very slow the year prior. And you're like, I don't know what's going to go on with that. And then next thing you know, rocket ship. That we could be seeing that too in Chicago. I mean, there's some pieces there. They're working really hard to build around there. But going to today, round 2, I'm going to be all over the place because there's no format here. I just jumped on to talk. But going on today, looking at the wide receivers, who's available, you still got A.D. Mitchell still on the board. Where do you think he's going to go? Where's A.D. Mitchell going to go? We got Ladd McConkey, Keon Coleman. I'm looking at the ESPN best available. They got Troy Franklin down here. They're sleeping on Troy Franklin. They're sleeping on Javon Baker. They got Roman Wilson, the 8th best available at wide receiver. They got Jalen Polk and Jalen McMillan ahead of them. I think Jalen McMillan could be a sleeper in fantasy. He could be with the route running and all. But there's a lot of guys I do like ahead of him. Devon Baker. I like Troy Franklin. Keon Coleman, I'm watching closely. He is a player that I feel like needs to go to a perfect landing spot. I feel like he needs to go to a team with a quarterback that's not afraid to push it downfield. It's not afraid to be aggressive with it. And we're looking here. We're looking at round 2. Bills are up. Keon Coleman to the Bills. AD Mitchell to the Bills is actually the size of just athleticism, the 4.3 speed getting down there. It's AD Mitchell or Keon Coleman for them. And AD Mitchell was probably who they were looking at and they kept trading back for. After that, you got the Patriots. They just picked up a quarterback. And usually when you pick up a quarterback, you're looking to get them some pieces. Cardinals already went wide receiver. Could go running back. I doubt it. There's some good defense left on the board. We got some offensive line. There's a lot left here. There's a lot left to go. So we're looking at this best available players. We got all the running backs from Jonathan Brooks to Blake Corum to Trey Benson to Marshawn Lloyd to Jalen Wright. Tonight's going to be hot and heavy for Dynasty rookie drafts for the value that we're looking at. The second round will be built tonight. The back end of the first round will be built tonight. If Trey Benson goes to a good landing spot, will we jump in the first round? Same with Jonathan Brooks, Blake Corum. Like say any of them gets the Cowboys privilege or if the Chiefs drafts one or whatever. How far are they drafting or going up our boards here in Dynasty rookie drafts? Spencer Rattler, the big quarterback on the board tonight. I think he's a fantastic developmental prospect. I think he's got a lot of upside. I think for the value in NFL terms, if you're looking to sit a quarterback for a bit, Minnesota Vikings, I think for the value and what you're getting for him versus paying 8 overall, I think that's a great value in real NFL draft terms. I think for Superflex rookie drafts, when you're looking at Spencer Rattler, wherever he's coming off the board tonight, I imagine it's going to be in round 2. I imagine round 2, early round 3-ish. I imagine somewhere tonight he's coming off the board. Good developmental quarterback that you just have on the back end of your roster developing. And for the price, it ain't too bad. Not too bad at all. Watch for the Cowboys in the quarterback position due to that Dak Prescott situation. I don't think they'll go up for a Spencer Rattler. But honestly, think about that because you got some other quarterbacks on board, but they'd be more developmental. But just looking here, what's the chances they go Jonathan Brooks or Jonathan Brooks is available for their first pick? Or are they going to go linebacker or somewhere else? Or maybe they can slam interior offensive line. The wide receiver spot is still hot right now. So we're looking at Ladd McConkey still on the board. AD Mitchell. Is he going to be the first pick off the board tonight? Highly likely to the Bills. We're seeing AD Mitchell come off the board. And when we see AD Mitchell, he's a prospect that's very interesting. Broke out last year. His breakout year was at age 20. He's not too old of a prospect, but not too young, but had a 20% market share. Flashed at Georgia, had some games where he was providing some highlights. You watch him on tape, you see the speed, you see the route running, you see him create some separation. He's very nuanced, especially for his length. That's always good to see. That's always very encouraging. AD Mitchell is a guy to look at here. AD Mitchell is a guy to pay attention to today. I mean, everybody is. You don't really need to pay attention to him because he's going to come off the board pretty quick. I do not see him falling off the board too much longer. I don't see him sitting there too much longer. He's coming off the board quick. AD Mitchell to the Bills. Think about if AD Mitchell goes to the Bills and say that happens, and that's at what, pick 33. If that happens, first round, right now considered, since we don't know what's going on, he jumps Leggett, he jumps Pearsall for sure. Then it's him versus Brian Thomas Jr. And then also in that tier, considering he's like, what, second, third option, starting off with bad quarterback play, Brock Bowers, he jumps back up there because 33rd overall is not much different than 32, 31 overall. Now you're looking here, and A.D. Mitchell's back up there in draft capital. He's not going to touch Xavier Worthy. You just can't beat that situation, but you're getting close. You're getting up there. You're getting up there. How much higher are you pushing A.D. Mitchell if the Bills select him? If the Bills make that pick? Because that's going to buoy some drafts on the back end. Best available overall. They got Cooper DeJean on ESPN. But looking at our players, tight end, JT Sanders coming off the board tonight. Where he goes is going to be very interesting. Cade Stover, Ben Sinnott. We're going to see some tight ends. We'll probably see a tight end run tonight. We'll probably see 3 to 5 tight ends come off the board tonight. We're going to see a lot of wide receivers. It's going to be a crazy night to pay attention to. We're going to see, I would guess, 10 to 12 wide receivers come off the board today. 10 to 12. We're going to see 10 to 12 wide receivers. I mean, A.D. Mitchell, Ladd McConkey, Keon Coleman, Jalen Polk, McMillan, Troy Franklin, Brendan Rice, Ron Wilson, Javon Baker, Tez Walker, Malachi Corley, Malik Washington. Wouldn't be surprised if he's in third round. Wouldn't be surprised Jamari Thrash is a third rounder, or Jermaine Burton. We're going to see a lot of wide receivers come off the board tonight. The second round of our rookie drafts are going to start to round out. And also, Ricky Pearsall, Xavier Legette is going to get usurped by a couple or a handful of these wide receivers. Which ones? Well, more likely the top guys. More than likely, like a Roman Wilson, a Javon Baker, Troy Franklin, Keon Coleman, Ladd McConkey, A.D. Mitchell, really depending on situation and landing spot. But we talking total? We talking total because I've been paying attention mostly to skill positions, but we talking tonight. Troy Franklin's definitely coming off the board. Troy Franklin is coming off the board tonight. He's coming off the board in the second round for sure. Looking at tight end, going down best available. I'll scan to other positions real quick. Offensive tackle. Hold up. Bam. Offensive tackle. I know for sure Troy Franklin's coming off the board. Total. Let me look at the other positions real quick because I've been mainly focused on quarterback. Powers Johnson for sure. So there's 2. There's 2 for sure. There's 2. I would say 3 so far. Defensive tackle Brandon Dorless is coming off the board. Feel pretty good about that. 3 for sure. Now I'm keeping looking. 3-ish. 3-ish. Oh, we got more. Let's see here. 4-ish. 4. I feel good with 4. 4 to 5. 4 to 5 is coming off the board tonight. More than likely 5. I'm not looking at kickers. More than likely 5 ducks are coming off the board tonight. Minimum 3, more than likely 5. So that's what I'm seeing. Defensive side of the ball, offensive line. I know a good bit, probably compared to a lot of people because of just really mock drafting every day. But it's the skill positions for fantasy is what I know inside and out because obviously that's my job. But when I'm looking at Troy Franklin, and I'm looking at these wide receivers, and let's look at what's going on left in round 2 here. He's coming off the board. I would guess somewhere around the second round. Bengals could be an interesting spot. pretty much everybody could use him. Buffalo's got another pick in the second round. I would not be surprised if Buffalo takes another wide receiver at 60. If Buffalo takes a wide receiver at 33 and 60, I would not be surprised, even though it probably wouldn't be the smartest thing to do. But I think there's going to be a big run on wide receivers today, and they may want to think about that. And I imagine there will be talent on the board at wide receiver with how deep it is, that they're going to think heavily on that. If not, they may think about it at 95, but the pool's going to be a little bit thinner by then. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Definitely. I need to get some more recruiting videos out on Oregon. I actually got one. I got one. It's on a freshman. I got one just sitting here ready to do. Dylan Gresham is the next Oregon player I'm going to be talking about. It's probably going to be after the draft. I have his videos clipped and ready to talk about, actually. Dylan Gresham. I have him right here. He's on my desktop. That is my next player. I got an Ohio State running back, a 3-star that I'm going to talk about. That's going to be early next week. And I got a 2025 player that I got to figure out how to pronounce his name. But I don't think he's signed anywhere yet. But I do have a Duck coming up, and I will be talking about him after the draft. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It really depends on how things go because of the draft and Dynasty rookie drafts. Dylan Gresham's the next player. I've actually had him on here for a little bit trying to get to him because I knew off the top of my head when you mentioned the recruits that I had an Oregon player that I was going to talk about. Dylan Gresham is next. Sam Williams-Dixon is the running back from Ohio State I'll be talking about early next week. You're not talking Jalen McMillan, you're talking about I know who you talk. Yeah. Solid's going to be up there in the draft next year. First rounder for sure. For sure. Unless you're talking about Jalen McMillan. Jalen McMillan today, second rounder, top guy. I like his route running. I think McMillan next year is going to be a top wide receiver for sure for Arizona. If we're talking Wildcats. If we're talking 2025 draft, I got my eye on him. I think he's going to be a top tier prospect. If we're talking Jalen McMillan, I am paying attention to him heavily today due to his route running, his ability to create separation. He has been a name in college football for a long time too. A Devy fantasy football darling, college fantasy football, a guy that many gamers have been paying attention to. And considering that he's been holding that value for a while, a good bit for fantasy football, especially a few days. Yeah, 2025 McMillan. I like him a lot. I think he's got tons of upside. I think if he holds steady, he's going to be drafted first round next year. I think it's going to be easy money for him too. For sure. Yeah, I like him a lot. Thumbing through the first round again, it's pretty cut and dry. I like Eugene Wilson. Covered him about maybe almost a month ago. I like his speed. I like his hands. I like his ability to get downfield. I liked him during the recruiting cycle as well because you just saw how electric he was. You just saw how great he was in space, him after the catch. Very fun wide receiver to watch. Actually, when it comes to watching the younger wide receivers in college football, he's a sophomore now, but one of my favorite prospects to watch. One of my favorites. From watching recruits, you tend to find guys that you're latching on to. I like him. I like DJ Lag. I like Florida, what they're doing at Florida too. And you could tell like they're building the wide receiver depth chart a certain way because you're just seeing speed all over the place. You're seeing the 100 times of these guys, 10-5s, 10-6, 10-4s. and you're like, they're lighting it up. Even the guys that are like lower on the recruiting ranks, they're fast. They got speed. They got a lot of upside to them. Like Lagway and company on that team, they're going to be pushing it quickly downfield, and it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be a fun offense to watch here, especially once everything gets going. And I like that. I think it's an offense we need to pay attention to. Auburn's another wide receiver I've been. Yes, rounds 2 through 5. And good luck on your picks. How you guys re-upped on Rashad Bateman too. What's your thoughts on him? I know he's been injured a lot, but like I remember on tape last year, you would see him flash a little bit, and he was coming back from the injury that Liz Frank. And usually when you come back from a Liz Frank injury, it takes you a lot of time to get back to normal. And honestly, when you think retrospectively of that, coming back from a Liz Frank and just be able to break off routes, flash some goods on the field is actually a very encouraging sign. Often injured through his NFL career, we really haven't seen him put together a large sample at all. Very interested to see what's going to happen with him. And then just rounds 2 through 5 today is a huge part of just building the depth chart, getting players. There's a lot of meat on the bone here. Offensive line's deep. You got some defenders on the board. Like a lot of defensive players fell on the board due to the quarterback run that was early in the draft. And then you also got that deep wide receiver pool. All right, if I had the 104, what else would be available? Because I would is Odunze gone at that spot? Because when I think about that, Odunze would be on the board, and then Xavier Worthy, I would take over them. I would take one of those two. But if it's a depleted Devy draft, then yeah. But I would go Rome Odunze, Xavier Worthy ahead of them. And then we're probably going to see some wide receivers go in some better spots. Those are probably going to be more encouraging today over Pearsall. And it's a 10-man league. I would shoot for more upside. I would shoot for, since it's a smaller league, you're going to need players to hit more on the upper tier of the scoring each week. So when I'm looking at their Harrison, Nabbers, Dunze, it's a 1 QB. Get my brain back to that. I would go Xavier Worthy. I then would go Brian Thomas Jr. I would think about Brock Bowers, but I think there's going to be a wide receiver today, maybe 2 or 3 of them, that's going to usurp Pearsall and Leggett in value that people are going to want, and you're going to have those wide receivers to look at. Also, the running backs, there's going to be one that gets posted up. Thoughts on Penix in Atlanta? I didn't mind it as much. Yeah, I've been processing that one still. That's probably why I haven't talked about it much. The one thing is, Cousins coming back from the Achilles. And I don't know if that means his Achilles or what's going on with the injury is worse than what we're expecting, and they just had to make a move. Or the value of the 8th pick is my only issue with that, because you can do a lot more with that. You got more fragility and the price that you paid for Cousins. But long-term upside, if you're able to build them, you can move things around later. So it really depends on what you're able to do. I honestly think Penix, I like him more than what a lot of people think about him, though. Like, I had him pegged, and a lot of people had him pegged as a first rounder this time last year. And a lot of people had him pegged as a first rounder middle of the season during college football. And the thing is, he's accurate downfield. He probably would pair nicely in that offense. Like, given the chance to develop and to compete, he probably would pair nicely in that offense. He is accurate downfield. He's very experienced. he can move the football. He's good with good talent. We definitely know that. We can definitely say that. He had Rome Odunze, Jalen Polk, McMillan and company. He was productive for quite a bit there. And then we saw him at Indiana in the Big Ten. And then back then, we were paying attention to him a little bit, but the injuries kept cropping up. The thing about it is maybe the cost is maybe the more of the issue. I think as a player, he's fine. I think maybe you could have waited later and got a QB if you're looking for straight backup. But maybe there's more telling about the Achilles too. I don't hate it as much as a lot of people are drilling it. I think for the cost perspective there, they probably could have done a little bit more, but I'm not hating it. It's something maybe long term that if they can develop correctly, that could really resolve itself. I liked Penix a little bit more than a lot of people. I wasn't really expecting him to really fall off the map that hard, but we'll see. We'll see with that one. But moving on, quarterback wise, say if you got a shot at, if you got a shot over here at Spencer Rattler, and we're looking at the draft here, when did they pick again? Second round? They up in the second round? They lose it. You're picking at 43. If Rattler falls to you at 43 and you're able to pick something else up, it would be between him and Nix for sure. Between him and Bo Nix, I think they would have thought hard on it. They would have took their preference. If they took Bo Nix, how far would Penix fall? That would be the next question, because we wouldn't really know. After that 12th pick of Bo Nix, quarterback was pretty much zapped out for first-round consideration. But also, we're getting to the area of the draft where a lot of teams have their quarterback after 12. Maybe the Raiders. Maybe the Raiders, maybe not. I doubt it with the Saints. Not with the Colts. Not really with Seattle. Definitely not with Cincy. Rams, I doubt it because they haven't had a first in a while. Not with the Steelers. Not with the Dolphins. Not with the Eagles. There would have been a fall. There would have been a fall. Because a lot of these teams got quarterbacks. There would have been a fall. One of them would have fell to the second, probably. That's the thing about that. And the fact that he's at 43. Yeah, they could have, because you got Geno there. You could have got someone to develop behind them. But you also got to look at opportunity cost of what else is there, too. On top of that, they got Byron Murphy. Got him on the inside. But it's a real possibility. I think developmental upside, Rattler, second-ish round. And then after that, there's a drop-off. There's a drop-off. But there's talent. Like Devin Leary was a quarterback that was talked about a few years ago a lot. Joe Milton's getting a lot of buzz with the arm strength. Sam Hartman came to Notre Dame, had some productivity early in the season. Going to be dirt cheap. Developmental guy. For me, guys that I'm targeting, so wide receiver, A.D. Mitchell is one of my favorites. I like Troy Franklin. Brendan Rice is one of my guys. Roman Wilson, Javon Baker from UCF is one of my favorite wide receivers in the draft. I think he's very underranked. They got him ranked as 9th and best available among wide receivers. I think he should be top 3-ish. I like Troy Franklin's game a lot. He's one of my favorite wide receivers. I like A.D. Mitchell. Going over here to running back. Running back is a position where I like to money ball it. So even though I do like the top guys, really who falls to me at value, third roundish. I like Jalen Wright will probably be a little cheaper, or Marshawn Lloyd. I like Marshawn Lloyd a lot. I like his size adjusted athleticism, what he showed at the Senior Bowl. Braylon Allen, I'm watching to see where he goes. If he goes to a team with a pass catching running back like Buffalo, like with the James Cook, that could be an interesting spot. And then we're going to tight end. Tight end's another money ball position for me, like JT Sanders. I'm watching Ben Sinnott from Kansas State. I like his size adjusted athleticism and what he did at the combine. Paying attention to where he goes. If he goes to a team with a good quarterback that likes to push it downfield, I think that could be very interesting. Theo Johnson tested well at the combine. He tested well coming out of high school as well. Yeah, Audric Estime is a very fascinating running back prospect because he's got amazing vision, and then his lateral foot agility. His feet's very efficient. Sticks his foot in the ground. He's able to break it off left and right easily. Good anticipation, and he's going to go like if you're looking NFL wise for your team, he's going to go in a palatable spot in the draft. Like he's not expected to be one of the top running backs drafted, especially what he posted at the combine. He's not so you're going to catch a good running back at a great price. That is great. You're going to catch a running back that you can pair with a satellite pass catching back, really have a good tandem there. And he was going to get you by for a good bit. And he's got some upside there. You can carry the rock. You can be between the tackles. A Gus Edwards 0.2, type of guy. Maybe like a Damian Pierce type of guy. Very assertive, very good guy in the open field. I like him a lot. And then going down, there's a lot of running backs I like. Like running backs that are in this draft, it's different because it's not heavy on the top end with talent. But if you really think it for like second and third round values, like a Will Shipley type of back, going late third, maybe early fourth, we might see him go day 3. His ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, his ability to just be used in all phases, that could be a good money ball play for an NFL team. Tyrone Tracy's a running back from Purdue. I like Blake Corum. He's like a muscle hamster type running back. Stocky, good, thick, lunch pail, and good between the tackle. Good at everything. He's good at everything. He's very dependable. And that's something what coaches was going to like about him. Good hands, good at everything. Yeah, very dependable running. Very good. Has some upside too. I'd be looking at him. Going back to Tyrone Tracy, I think he could be a cheap get. Kamani Vidal from Troy, a cheap get in the later rounds. If you're looking for money ball running backs, there's another guy that Dylan Johnson from Washington, his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. He's also got some size to him. I think he posted 45 catches a couple years ago. Amani Bailey is a guy being slept on. You talking about Dejon Edwards from Georgia? That guy, a big-time recruit coming out of high school with good feet. And we were watching him throughout his career. We're hoping that he'd fire a little bit more. But right landing spot, climbs the depth chart in camp. You're talking about some potential. Another back that I like between the tackles that has some pop from South Dakota State is Isaiah Davis. And then everybody likes Dylan Labe from New Hampshire. And I like him as like part of a committee as a guy catching balls out of the backfield due to his size, adjusted athleticism, and his speed. I think him paired with like an Audric Estime type of back in a backfield, I think that'd be great for him. Just wheel him out, pass catching situations, use him as a utility guy, use him as a change up. I think he's a great guy to look at. Let's look at other sides of the ball. Offensive tackle. So I'm very good at wide receiver, tight end, running back, quarterback. That's where I look at. But there's a lot of players here that I've looked at doing the mock drafts. Let me see if any of these names catch my eye that I'm looking at. Walter Rouse from Oklahoma. He may not go today, though. But a guy I'm paying attention to, Blake Fisher from Notre Dame. But he's going to be one of the top guys going off the board. Christian Jones from Texas. Another tackle that I'm looking at, Caden Wallace from Penn State. Going down. Any late round guys? There's some later round guys. I think that's more on the interior that I liked, that I know that's still on the board. Let's see here. Going guard. Zach Zinter from Michigan is a guy that I watched earlier that I like. Let's see here. It's center. Center's got some players. Center is deep this year. which you can move him around the guard and stuff. Jackson Powers still on the board. I like Zach Frazier. He's going to go in the second round. I like him a lot. Center out of West Virginia. I have a friend that's a West Virginia fan. He would talk about this guy nonstop. That would be a tough backfield. That would be tough, especially with Henry carrying the rock and with them. Lamar, too, splitting it up. And then also, you got Henry. Henry staying healthy and upright a whole season with Lamar. That's almost unstoppable. That's almost unstoppable. That's one thing to say. Another center, which you can move the guard, Tanner Bortonelli. Shoot, I've drafted a ton. I ended up watching him. Solid out of Wisconsin, 6'4", 303. Look for him. Hunter Norzad from Penn State. I like him. This is a deep center class. Drake Nugent, you're going to catch him on day 3 from Michigan. Defensive tackle, Zerhan Newton's still on the board. He's going to come off the board quick tonight in the second round. From Illinois, surprised he fell this far, but if he goes quick, that's going to be interesting. He's going to go quick off the board. Sweat's still on the board from Texas, but a lot of mock drafts he was falling in the second round. And earlier he was going early in mock drafts. He could even go even further. He could be a faller. Let's see here. Linebacker. Cooper still on the board. Colston. We got Gray on the board. We got Wallace. Trotter Jr. kind of falls a little bit. There's still a lot of talent at linebacker and corner. I haven't even talked about corner yet. Cornerback, where's that at? Definitely. Because especially when you get a run like this at quarterback in the first round, you get 6 quarterbacks come off the board. You're expecting, 4 to 5, but you get 6 because you got Penix and Nix. You knew Nix was more likely, but the Penix thing was a little bit a surpriser. And then the wide receivers coming off the board on that run. And that's causing some interior offensive linemen, some corners to fall. But man, Cooper DeJean mocked in the first round for months and weeks. He's going to be there in the second round. Kool-Aid's still there. Actually, Kool-Aid, we were looking at him being a second rounder. We didn't think he was going to be a first. We covered a lot of mock drafts, had a lot of commenters saying that. Looks like that was holding true. We got Lassiter from Georgia. We got some talent here at corner. Safety, I've not looked at safety for a bit. Javon Bullard. We got some talent there. Corner's where it's at, though. Edge, we went over that. Nealon, Braswell. Let's see. See if there's any of my guys I was drafting on the PFF mocks that I thought that was very... Nope, they're not there. Going back to running back. May fall into you at 106 or JJ. Right now, I think I'm leaning more JJ. I think he's going to have more to him, more at his disposal. He's not too far off when it comes to draft capital. When it comes to talent, I like May better. I think May's got more talent. I'm not too keen on the rebuild. If the Patriots bring some guys in, if they bring in some dudes today or tomorrow via trade, able to get some bodies in, especially at the wide receiver spot, they go ham, then we'll start thinking a little bit more on that. But it's hard not to roll with Justin Jefferson. It's not hard not to think about. You got the tight end there with Hawkinson. You got Jordan Addison. His wide receiver 2 is better than a lot of wide receiver 1s on some teams. And then you just got too much there. I'm leaning towards that. I've been pontificating on that too. I know JJ's got to move up. He's got to move up. A lot of people were mocking him too low, and we knew pretty much that he was going to be a lock. The one thing is if the media was pushing him too far and he fell, it didn't happen. He should move up the board a bit. He should. I like Wiggins. I like Wiggins' speed, very fast. He killed the combine. Watching him where he went in the first round, I was paying attention a lot to him. It's a tough call at quarterback. Quarterback's always going to be a tough call. It's even tough at the top with Caleb Williams and then him versus Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. That's why I'm saying being very fluid with the top guys here. Even if you take the guy you like more or trade out if you can. But it's very tough because of the quarterback position. It's the hurt business, really. And you could be a great prospect, and if you land with the wrong team, it could be all over for you. It could be just that. Like Justin Fields, maybe a different situation. It could be a different thing. I mean, we saw him at Ohio State, and he had some very good moments there. That Michigan State game, though, was kind of a clue. His final year at Ohio State, if I'm remembering if that's the right one, that Michigan State game where he kind of got log jammed up. And there were some moments early that last year, Ohio State, starts of some games. I think it was the Northwestern game. No, that was Stroud. Stroud had a rough time against Northwestern, but there were some clues there. Yeah, Kyler Murray and Harrison Jr. That's going to be nasty. Harrison Jr., I think you can put him anywhere. He's just going to rise up. I think him and Kyler likes to just throw it up too. He's got a lot of guts to him. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a great fit because he's got the height, length, and he can separate. He moves laterally like a smaller guy. And then if we're talking about Malik Neighbors, he's going to get deep balls downfield. I think Danny Dimes, he's had some years where he's pushed a good average depth of target downfield. And I'm talking like, top 10, top 5 in the league, and that's a couple years ago, and just really hasn't been able to materialize that due to injuries with the wide receivers and not having the talent at wide receiver. Now you're getting him an alpha, a guy that is projected to be like a generational talent, a guy that could really turn things around for you. If he does not get it done soon, he's got to be out of there. I'm surprised they didn't make a move for a quarterback, but investing here means that if it doesn't work out, you're going to be getting another quarterback later anyways, because you're really bad off at the quarterback position if you cannot hit now. Because now you also got Jalen Hyatt on the other side of the stretch field. You got Wan'Dale Robinson in the slot. He's a slot plus. You can put him on the outside. If you remember him at Kentucky, Wan'Dale Robinson was a monster. He was deep ball city. He can create separation, good in the slot. Very good wide receiver prospect. And you got him in the slot with Neighbors. You got a good wide receiver core there. There's no reason why you don't step up. And if you don't step up this year or next year, whatever you're trying to do with them, it's over. It's over because that's too good of a wide receiver core. Yeah, because he'll run around and you're like, he's down there somewhere and he'll just sling it up there. And he's quick, he's fast. He's got balls to sling it downfield. I wouldn't be surprised they bring another wide receiver off the draft, but they also got Wilson from last year's draft. Very good route runner, a good route running savant, great in the slot, great on the outside. And Harrison Jr. could open things up for him, especially if the guy's getting a good route participation rate, if that's holding true. That's something to look at there. Let's see here. Let me pull up my spreadsheet, look at the Cardinals passing game. Let's see here. Arizona. And we'll look at the wide receivers. Because we got Michael Wilson. And the thing about him, he was not getting deep targets last year. 54 air yards per game. Wasn't getting much volume. It was very volatile. That's what was going on. He had a good ADOT, actually. I was wrong on that. He had a 12 ADOT. It was the volume that tapered down. 13.2% target share, but he was running a lot of routes. He was getting 84.7% route participation rate. You talking about Arizona? They got one of my favorites, Trey McBride. Trey McBride, 19.6% target share last year in year 2. Trey McBride, coming from Colorado State. I got him when he was a sophomore in Devy Fantasy Football, maybe a junior. It was early in his career because he popped off with a 20% target share of his team's passing targets, and it looked like he was flashing some upside. But the thing is, he was running a lot of routes, being very productive. And he had 6.3 targets per game. And then that mostly came buoyed when Zach Ertz came out, but still a good route participation rate. But remember, that's diluted down due to Zach Ertz being in there at a lot of the start of the season at 62.9. So it's more like 80%. It doesn't matter. He's a tight end. You want the volume here, 6.3 and a 20% target share almost. That's solid. He should continue to get that. Marvin Harrison Jr., when you look at these wide receivers and tight ends, you got Marquise Brown who's gone, 22.8% target share. 101 targets gone. A lot of that should be going to Marvin Harrison Jr. He's already earned it. Rondale Moore is not going to steal targets. Michael Wilson had 52 targets last year. Watch to see if he gets a little increase. Maybe he gets to 60, 70, or 80 or so. I look for Marvin Harrison Jr. to push for about 120 targets. And I'm looking at Trey McBride with Zach Ertz there. Between the two of them, 143 targets. Not all 43 targets will go to Trey McBride since he had 100. He might push around 120, 115-ish. Yeah, I had to mentally process that one a little bit. It took me a little bit longer to look at. Let me pull up the Raiders stats here from last year. Las Vegas, right here. Bam. Pulling that up. We also got the Michael Mayer had how many targets last year? He averaged 2.9 targets a game, but he had a ramp up at the end of the season. 9.1 target share. Ran routes on 54.6% of the routes. What I would think is it was a value play. They didn't expect him to fall to them. And you're looking at what they have at quarterback. Quarterback was Dunzo, right? So you're looking at what's there. You got this quarterback situation. You're trying to get more pieces there. And you felt like Bowers was ahead of what was the best available at wide receiver. And you could run two tight ends. It's just highly unlikely that you see it. You see a lot of teams try it. You haven't seen it really since the Patriots. Yeah, he's got the size to do it. He's a thinner tight end. I mean, by doing that, you actually have the leverage to keep him in the slot more and have him as a big slot, honestly. And then you have your other tight end be more of a traditional tight end, if you think about it that way, and you get more speed on the field, especially after the catch. If you think things through schematically like that, so you put him in the slot, you got consider him like a big slot. You can also move him around to the outside. He has the speed for that. And then you got Michael Mayer, have him more as a traditional tight end, keep him more in line. You got Hooper, and then you can make that work. You can make that work, especially you experienced the injuries at wide receiver last year. Wide receivers coming in and out, and Adams isn't getting much younger. Just getting elite weapons for the passing game isn't going to hurt your team, right? It's going to get you better. And honestly, they were looking at best player available. They saw that. They fell to their lap. They were excited about that. They hit that button and ran with it. They were not expecting that to happen. They were expecting Bowers to not be there. They probably thought he would possibly be there in their own possibilities, but they probably did not expect him to be there at that time. Bowers fell to him. They took it, and now they're like, well, we got two good tight ends. We got some more options in the passing game. We got some speed now. Let's see what we can do with this. Let's marinate something together. And Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, between them, 33% target share for Adams, 21% for Jacoby. The tight ends, 9.1%, 5.2%. Honestly, the ball doesn't go too much to the tight end position. Maybe that's something they wanted to get better at. And maybe they wanted that. Maybe putting him in the slot after the catch. Renfro's gone. Yeah, I think that's I think really schematically wise, if you're creative, I think getting Brock Bowers football-wise is great. Fantasy football-wise, initially on the short term, well, tight ends take a while to develop. So you're going to have to wait for him to develop. More than likely, we were spoiled last year, and maybe there's a change. Maybe they just spam him out there, let him run a bunch of routes and see what happens. But honestly, you're getting Devontae Adams there with a 33% target share, 21% target share to Jacoby Myers. Obviously, those numbers are not going to flat out stay the same, but say you get 50% targets going to those two pass catchers. Thinking about it that way, you're going to get some targets going to the running backs, not much. But thinking about it that way, and you're looking at Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers for Dynasty Fantasy Football, more than likely a long-term play. Like, if I have two players on the board, Brock Bowers, another guy, and I regard them the same. Theoretically, if I'm looking at Brock Bowers and I'm trying to play strategy with him, and I like him a lot, but I foresee a ramp-up period here with the quarterback situation, logjam here with the targets, I would look to see if I can buy him in season at a cheaper cost, maybe with a second or something, if that could happen. But I imagine whoever drafts him is going to have a tight grip on him because of who he is, because there's that FOMO with him being a top-tier asset in Devy Fantasy Football for a long time. It's going to be hard to make that move. But if you probably gave it a year and a half, you could probably trade back in. But I also would diversify if I liked them to have some shares as well. Like, I wouldn't go naked without them. Like, I would make sure I had some Brock Bowers shares. Like, if I was in 10 leagues, and in those 10 leagues, I had 4 opportunities to get them, I'd make sure that I get at least one. Make sure I get at least one. So, well, that's about, 10% share, but my opportunities to get him 25% range. That's how I'd play it, but I would diversify from him. If I had one league, if I was in one Dynasty league and I was on the board at a pick, I would just get my guy. Siding. Houston siding. Stephon Diggs, and then you're looking at this team. They dealt with injuries too. There was a run where they had a lot of injuries in the offensive line that slowed things down in the middle of the season. And then the wide receivers were in and out a lot last year. Nico Collins had some injuries. Noah Brown had some injuries. Robert Woods had some injuries. Tank Dell obviously got injured. Tank Dell's going to be back. Are they going to pick up another wide receiver? Are they going to pick up another one? Because they did get the Stephon Diggs, but he's not getting any younger. What, Nico Collins got a contract situation coming up? And CJ Stroud's very vocal with the wide receivers he wants. He spoke up about Ricky Pearsall. He spoke up about Tank Dell. That's what made me think of that in my head. He might speak up on a pass catcher or something, and they were like, hey, we'll allow you to pick a player once every year or so. They could do that. Keep him happy. I mean, you keep him happy, he's more likely to negotiate with you when it comes contract time. You got a team built for him. He's more likely going to negotiate with you, take a little bit of a discount. You keep him happy, give him a pick here and there. Are they going to take another wide receiver? Like it's a thought I don't think many people have crossed because you're like, they're built, they're good. But honestly, Stephon Diggs not getting younger. Nico Collins has got a contract situation. We dealt with a lot of injuries on this team last year at wide receiver. I think CJ Stroud's very vocal with what he wants. He seems like he's got a good eye for analyzing wide receivers. If you listen to him talk about Ricky Pearsall, got a good eye with Tank Dell. I mean, obviously, he's a smart kid, puts the ball downfield with accuracy. He might even pick a tight end. He might get a pick. They may give him a pick every now and then. I mean, they may give him. I like D'Amico Ryans. I like how quickly that was an express rebuild. You don't see rebuilds like that happen too quick, especially like the way they were the year prior. Like, we were rolling into the season and we're like, man, they're probably going to have to put the kids' gloves on here. Things were so slow the year prior. They're going to be slow. Opposite. Throwing it downfield, fast-paced offense, getting it downfield. And that's always good to see. That's always very good to see. But I would not be surprised if they allow CJ Stroud to get a pick today or tomorrow. Maybe Saturday they'd say, hey, you get one pick. Hey, there's a guy you like. You've been talking about him. He's in this range. Why not? Why not? That could be happening. That could happen. If one of his guys he talks about real quick. All right, I'm going to jump off here. I got some things to do. I got to prep for the drafts. I'm going to have more videos out on draft, more reaction videos. I'm going to have rankings out probably tomorrow with rounds 1, 2, and 3, a wide receiver video, probably a running back video, hopefully, and overall video. So 3 sets of rankings coming out tomorrow, reaction and videos coming out tonight. Hopefully I get at least 5 videos out tonight. I got to do an article for dynastyleaguefootball.com. I'll have that out tonight. And so I'll be pretty busy, but I'll be around. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Stay in touch. Good luck tonight with the draft. I'll see you guys. I'll try to hop on another live stream. I don't know when, though. Maybe tomorrow, the next day, maybe tonight. Really depends on what's going on. But I want to thank you guys. I'll catch you guys later.